Protein. Now, is protein just for athletes? Is protein just for bodybuilders? Is protein just for those people that exercise? The answer to that question is simply absolutely not. Protein is so vital, and in our opinion, it's actually the most important macronutrient that we consume. Every meal that you have should have its main focus of protein, and then secondly, we would say vegetables, and then potentially adding some fats and carbohydrates to those meals. But primarily, all your meals should start with a protein base. There are plenty of reasons as to why protein is hugely important for you, and this video for this week, our blog this week, is to try and help you understand why protein is so important, because we see so many people who come into the gym who undereat protein. It's the most under-eaten macronutrient when we look at protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And it's really concerning because there are so many reasons why you need to have an adequate amount of protein in your diet to thrive and live optimally. So, first and foremost, a lot of people come in and say, surely it's just athletes and bodybuilders that really need a lot of protein. That is not true. Everyone is going to have a requirement for protein because literally protein is involved in every single process in the body, pretty much. And that's why it's so important. We need to have a lot of protein in our diet to make sure those processes function optimally. Another thing, a lot of people come into the gym and they want to achieve body fat and body weight goals in terms of losing body fat and losing body weight, and satiety is a big part of that. So when you are in a dieting phase, you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, a little bit of body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit, which means you're consuming less energy than you're burning. And for that to work better, you may as well eat food that keeps you fuller for longer, and that's what satiety is. Protein is a lot more satiating than the other macronutrients. So therefore, protein is a great fuel source and a great macronutrient to be eating a lot of when you're trying to achieve a health fitness result. My next point here is thermic. Protein actually has a higher what we call thermic effect than carbohydrates and fats. And basically what that means is for every gram of protein that you eat, a higher percentage of that is burnt through the digestion process. So if you've ever seen, people, you may have had this yourself, where you eat lots of protein and we're sitting, like if you're sitting down at Christmas time or something like that, and you eat heaps of meat and you start getting meat sweats, that's actually a real thing. What's happening is the heat your body is generating, that's the thermic effect of protein in the digestion process causing that sweating. So you could eat 100 grams of protein and you could eat 100 grams of carbohydrates. Your body would only absorb roughly about 70% of the protein, and more likely to be around 95% of the carbohydrates, purely just because of the calories you burn through the digestion of it. So when you're dieting, it's a great thing to be having. Protein is really important. Obviously, we know, and a lot of people know and understand, that protein protects our muscle. It's going to maintain our muscle and repair and recover all sorts of processes in the body. So when you're getting older, you start getting a little bit more frail. There's a greater need for protein because our bodies are starting to get weaker, and we want to maintain as much muscle as possible for our health. Like I've said already in this video, protein is involved in pretty much every single process in the body. So if we are deficient in protein, we're going to have to try and get protein from different parts of our body, which is not optimal. We don't want to be stealing protein from our carbohydrates and fat stores in our body, which can happen through different processes in the body. We want to try and eliminate that and avoid that as much as possible. Also, it's important to understand that there are essential proteins and non-essential proteins. And basically, non-essential means that our body can create them ourselves, whereas essential means we need to get them from food. So if we undereat protein in terms of the food we're consuming, we're not going to get all the essential proteins that we need in our body, which means that we are, like I've said before, we're going to have to try and convert them from other sources, and that's why I've put over here carbohydrates and fats. When I say we talk about protein turnover, that means basically all the time your body is turning over protein. It's using protein for different processes, and then it's having to replenish it and get it from somewhere else. What we want to do is try and avoid it from getting it from carbohydrates and fats as much as possible, because we want to use our carbohydrates and fats that are stored in our body for burning of energy rather than being converted to protein, which is an inefficient process in the body. Few other key roles that protein plays, which is why they're so vital for your health, is that it does actually assist in the fat burning process in the body. Your immune system. Protein builds your immune system. It helps you defend against anything that is attacking the body, and that's really important, especially now. It's very topical, our immunity and our health with the current pandemic. So immune system is hugely important. Your reproduction, it's going to help for females who are pregnant, it's going to help with that process with making that baby as healthy as possible, and also just creating and helping with the assistance of creating the processes in the body that allow reproduction. Protein helps create a lot of hormones, assists with the detoxification process in the liver. Think about all the toxins that we are exposed to on a daily basis, whether it be from pollution, whether it be from the products we put in our skin, from the food we eat. Detoxification protein is hugely important for that. Neurotransmitters, the way we feel, our brain health, our mental health, neurotransmitters, they're hugely reliant on protein to help create those. Aging, if we want to age gracefully, high protein, getting adequate protein is very important for that. Obviously, I've talked about liver, the detoxification which occurs in the liver, but also just liver health in general. A lot of the protein we eat goes to the liver, so it's hugely important for the liver. Enzymes. Think about everything in the body that requires breaking down all the food we eat, for example. It's enzymes in our body that break down that food. So to create enzymes, we need protein. So protein, hugely important for that. Digestion. A lot of digestive processes, are hugely reliant on protein. Tissue, so cartilage, bone, ligaments, all those things in our body. If we get injuries, blood, everything like that, protein is hugely important to help create this, repair it, keep it healthy. Cardiovascular, our cardiovascular system, our heart, protein, once again, helps with this. Some cons of not eating adequate protein are anemia, general muscle weakness, and degeneration of muscle tissue, edema, so holding on to water, that bloating feeling. If you get that a lot, then you might be protein deficient. Low immunity, as I've just discussed. The opposite is obviously high immunity, which is what protein assists with. We don't want to have low immunity. If you get sick a lot, potentially under eating protein, and vascular dysfunction. So there's lots of different reasons why we want to avoid having protein deficiency. Just a quick note that it is really important to understand that if you do suffer from liver or kidney disease, and there are other conditions that maybe high protein intake you need to be very careful with, so you need to consult your doctor on that, but I just wanted to point those two out. So it's really important when it comes to protein to understand how much, and we don't want to overcomplicate it, we don't want to confuse you. Be careful though, general guidelines versus thriving and living your life to your potential is completely different. So there's always recommended, daily allowances, but they are often on the lower scale for just getting by in life. We want to thrive. If you're exercising a lot, you play sport, and you move a lot, you probably need to eat a little bit more than you currently are. So what we like to do is, as you will know if you know us well, is we just give guidelines based on palm portions for protein. So it's your palm portion. For males, try and aim for at least 6 palm size servings of protein per day. For females, we say 4. Obviously, if you're a little bit bigger and more body weight and more muscle you have, you want to aim a little bit higher. And the other thing is, if you do really struggle to eat protein, and we do encourage people to eat protein every single meal of the day, as I said at the start, think about a protein powder. yes, it is a little bit processed, but it's going to be a lot easier for people to get your protein sources in through a protein powder rather than having to add in a huge amount of meat and other sources of protein if you are more of a vegetarian or vegan. Because ensuring that you get that protein, that protein store in your body up is more important than worrying about necessarily where it's coming from. If it is a little bit processed in terms of a protein powder, you obviously can get vegan protein powders if you are vegan or vegetarian. So we highly encourage you to increase your protein stores. So please feel free to reach out to us and ask for any help on this. But hopefully this gives you some understanding as why protein is hugely important for you in your health, and it's not just for athletes, bodybuilders, and people that exercise a lot.